So we'll begin our practice. We'll begin our fifth. How is it the fifth practice? I don't know. That has gone so quickly. It's a little bit scary. But we'll begin our practice. So our intention for today is to unblock the sacral chakra, is to create a sense of connection to your own body, to your own energy, to your own spirit, and to also have a sense of curiosity within your practice as well. Sometimes when you go through different practices, especially if it's something that's around your hips, that can unlock quite a lot of emotions. If you're concentrating on a specific area, that can bring out certain emotions as well. So just having a sense of curiosity for whatever comes up for you. There's no right, there's no wrong. We don't have to criticize ourselves. We don't have to judge ourselves for anything that comes up. It's just being curious and having that sense of awareness and thinking, oh, hey, that's what's come up for me. So that is the intention for our practice today. If you do have a goddess box, I would highly recommend you just put in a little bit of orange oil just onto your fingertips. So the colour that is associated with the sacral chakra is orange, bright orange, or peaches, corals, anything in that sort of area. So we're going to use sweet orange oil if you have it. Of course, if you don't, please don't worry. It sounds really, really daft. But if you get an orange, it is the exact same smell, of course, as it is the essential oil of an orange. But if you do have the oil, just rub it into your hands for me. We're going to tune into that throughout our practice today. So use it quite generously. It's quite a dry oil as well, so it's not going to interfere with any holds in downward facing dog or anything like that. I'm going to have a little bit more. I feel like I need more of this today. And the element that we're going to work with is water. So all of your chakras, the ones particularly in the center of your body, so starting from your roots and then working your way up, are all connected to a different element. So the element of your sacral chakra is that of water. So hydration as a woman is really, really important. So when you are ready, if you have the essential oil, place your hands across your face and just start to take big, deep breaths in for me. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. We're going to visualize color, lots of orange in your practice today. So we can just start with that visualization. So just holding your hands in front of your face for me. You have a very dynamic, active practice today. Quite high energy. But we're still going to use the breath to keep you calm, keep you grounded, keep you centered. If you have the orange calcite, you can also place that into your palms and just connect that in front of your face for me. Big, deep breaths in. If we have that oil, breathe it all in. We're going to begin our practice this evening with a deep diaphragmatic breath. So just holding where you are, seated in whatever position feels good for your body. If we need to elevate the hips onto a block, feel free. All about your pelvic health this evening. And the reason we're going to start with a deep diaphragmatic breath is because as we breathe right into the depths of your belly, your diaphragm is going to push down. As it pushes down, it's going to support and nourish your pelvis. It's also going to press some space into your hips. If you ever feel like you're really tight in your hips during your practice, breathe really deeply. That pressure is going to create some space into the hips. For people that are generally quite stressed, quite anxious, all normal things that we all experience, that can often translate into tightness in your hips. So big, deep breaths in through your nose. Exhaling out through your mouth, adding some length, adding some depth to your breath. Breathing with intention. To add into that breath, we're going to create some vibration within your body. You can by all means keep your hands in front of your face. If at any time you need to just rest them on your knees, that's okay too. When we create vibration in your body, that's going to help to unlock different repressed emotions, any resistance that we've got, anything that was storing vibration, sound, and particularly the sound of your own voice. is amazing for getting all of that energy moving about. We're going to do a humming bee breath together. Stay with your diaphragmatic breath on your inhale. So breathing down into the depths of your belly. And then as you exhale, super simple, you're just going to hum it out for me. Breathing in between big deep breaths. As you come into that humming bee breath, see if you can take that vibration all the way down into the depths of your body. See where you can feel that vibration. Big deep breaths in. Big deep breaths in between. Use the power of your own voice. What's happening up here is linked to what's happening down here. Don't be scared of the sound of your own voice. Inhale. And just breathe in between. And then staying exactly where you are, stay in meditation posture, just gently closing your eyes now. Stay connected to your deep diaphragmatic breath. Imagine you taking that breath all the way down into your hips, all the way down into your pelvis. Keeping that sense of curiosity within your practice today. Bring your awareness right down into your pelvis, into your sacral chakra. Your awareness in towards everything that's housed within that area of your body. Home of your uterus, your ovaries, your pleasure center, production of female hormones, kidneys, your lower back, your lower abdomen. All the different parts that uniquely make you, you. Just hold your awareness there. Starting to invoke an orange light. Imagine an orange light filling all the way through your pelvis. Orange light to spread into your hips, into your lower belly, into your lower back. All the way through the different parts of your female anatomy and through your pelvis. A warm, healing orange light. See if you can hold your awareness there. Stay with your diaphragmatic breath, breathing right down into the depths of your belly. Awareness on that warm orange light. So we have so many emotions that are held throughout the pelvic area, and as we bring awareness to this energy center, certain emotions might come up for you. Just notice as you hold your awareness in your sacral chakra with that warm orange light through your pelvis, any feelings, any signals, emotions, anything that comes up for you. Even if it's a sense of judgment or shame or guilt, resentment, confusion, disconnection, sense of frustration. Even if there's absolutely nothing, just know that whatever you notice or whatever you feel is completely normal and absolutely okay. Let yourself be present, acknowledge and honor how you feel. Stay with that deep diaphragmatic breath, that warm orange light, and create your own safe space within your own body. Your body is your safe space. warm orange light and your deep diaphragmatic breath to unlock any resistance, any difficulty, or anything that we're holding on to. Any stored emotions, we're going to start to unlock them today. Seat of your creative, your feminine power, starting to unblock that chakra. Tuning into the element of water. Imagining any emotions, anything that comes up for you today, allow them to move, allow them to flow, almost like an overflowing bowl of water. Honor whatever's there. We don't have to integrate it as part of our identity. They can just be present, just in existence at the same time, but we don't have to integrate them as parts of our inner being. Anything that comes up for you this evening, anything that you feel like isn't serving you, just allow it to release, almost like a river going back to the ocean. Let it flow back to where it needs to go to. Keeping that sense of curiosity, open your mind to possibility. Let's allow that orange light to heal and reconnect us to our own bodies, our ultimate source of power. Give yourself the permission to experience a sense of joy, acceptance, gratitude, empowerment, deepest sense of creativity. All the things that are your birthright as a woman, and that we can access by tapping into within your sacral chakra. Appreciate the value of your sacral chakra, the contribution that that area of your body makes to you, your life, your being. You're going to befriend your pelvis, sit with her today. Tell her thank you for everything that she's done for you so far. Send that message of gratitude all the way down into your pelvis, in your mind's eye, mentally repeating the words, thank you. Big thank you to your pelvic area. Keeping your awareness on that orange, warm, healing light. Taking a big deep breath in through your nose, right into the depths of the belly. Big deep breath out. Gently opening your eyes. So we have pelvic centered salutations today. We're going to flow continuously throughout our practice, staying aligned with that element of water. Almost like a dance, I suppose. Today, let yourself be fluid, be free. There's no right, there's no wrong, only what's right for your body. So even as we move through your practice, if I give you a cue, a coaching cue, and you feel like it feels worse or it doesn't feel quite right for you, or you felt better where you were before, you tune in to your body. Nobody knows your body better than you do, so listen to your intuition. So have a bit of freedom, be a little bit playful and a little bit curious in your practice today. So starting by taking your hands down towards the ground, tiny weeny little pelvic circles, anti-clockwise. I will explain why we're going anti-clockwise first in a second. But just starting with your tailbone, it's going to be that small that you're not even going to feel like you're moving that much. But just make little circles with your tailbone. Try and stop your tummy, try and stop your chest from getting involved just for the moment. Tiny little circles might feel quite hard, telling you everything you need to know about your sacral. So tiny little circles, almost as if you're drawing a circle with the tip of your tailbone. See how that feels for you, and then start going the other way. Clockwise might feel a little bit easier. So your prana, or your life force, your life energy, travels up through your spine, through your chakras, clockwise direction. So little circles. See if you can feel any obvious resistance. Is there any in the lower back? Is there any in your hips? Do your hips feel equal to one another? Is one tighter than the other? Tiny little micro movements. So we communicate, tap into and link into your pelvis with micro movement. Good. And then come back into the center. Take a big deep breath in. As you exhale, round through your spine, tuck your chin down into your chest. So it's almost like you're going to slump into your posture. This is called a posterior tilt. That bowl of water, imagine it's flowing backwards. You've tipped that bowl backwards. This is how most people actually sit when they're on the sofa, kind of not conscious of how you're sitting. And it's quite unhealthy for your pelvis. We're suffocating and pressing that energy down. Come back into the center, inhale. Exhale when you get there. Just let yourself come into a neutral position. That bowl of water, imagine it's now flat. Inhale. This time, lean yourself forwards. I'll just this way. We're going to an anterior tilt this time. So you're going to tilt your pelvis, that bowl of water to tip forwards. So you're actually over engaging in your lower back. This is how a lot of people stand. Me particularly. This is how I would naturally stand. Bring yourself back into the center. Also not too great for the health of your pelvis. We want neutral, bowl of water to be flat. So just practice moving between those 2 points. Go to your posterior tilt, let yourself slump. Then go all the way through the center, find neutral, then go forwards into an anterior tilt, little arch through your lower back. Energy is going to travel up so much easier when you're in your version of neutral, and your version of neutral is going to be different compared to everybody else. So when I say find a neutral spine or find a neutral pelvis, I mean you find yours. So just bringing yourself back into the center, drop your bottom set of teeth down towards the floor, and then lift your nose and your chin up towards the ceiling, but without shortening your neck. You're not bringing the shoulders up to the ears, keep them relaxed down, but lifting your nose, lifting up through your forehead, drop your bottom set of teeth right down towards the ground. And then stick your tongue out as far as you possibly can. Get a good stretch on the base of your tongue. That bottom set of teeth to stay down towards the ground. Soften around the corners of your eyes, so no tension anywhere in the face, just letting the bottom jaw drop down. And then come back into the center. So what's happening in your jaw mirrors what's happening in your pelvis and vice versa. So if you are particularly tight in your hips, it's often a good idea to massage the fascia that you have in your jaw because the two are very, very interlinked. When we're stressed, as women, we hold the most amount of tension in the hips and in the jaw. They are linked. All of your body works together. So drop your bottom set of teeth back down for me. We're going to press your thumb into your masseter muscle. If you need a bit of help finding the masseter, squeeze your teeth together and it'll pop out in the corner here. Press your thumbs in towards that little bit of muscle that you have and then make little circles going one way, little circles going the other way. And if you have a specific point where you think, oh, that's where it needs to be, feel free to hold it there. It might shift. When you press into that part of the muscle, notice, does it shift anywhere else into the head? Completely normal if it does. Quite tender, but when you find that little point, it's also very therapeutic. Breathe into it, big deep breath. And then release. So just like we did last week, even though high energy, we're going to use the breath in between to keep your body in a restful state. Cross your feet over for me. Come onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes underneath and come up into downward facing dog. So of course, we're yet to warm the body up. So when you come into downward facing dog, don't force yourself into the posture as you feel like you normally would. If you feel quite tight in your hamstrings, that's okay. Just walk through your downward facing dog. Think about your pelvis today as we come through down dog. Let it flow forwards like a bowl of water. Think less about the stretch in your hamstrings, less about that press down into your heels. Think more about that pull forward of your pelvis. That bowl of water to cascade down towards the ground. And as we're moving through fluidity, any movements you want to add in downward dog before we begin, feel free, whether it's a walk down through your heels, Shifting your hips side to side, a little bend into your knees and then a straighten. And if you can look underneath your arm, I'm quickly going to show you. So today, what I would rather you concentrate on is keeping that bend in your knees, but lifting your tailbone high so that the back is flat. Rather than rounding through your lower spine, let's bring some freedom into your pelvis. Drop down onto your knees. One downward facing dog in and I already feel better. Into cat pose. So we'll take your shoulders over the tops of your wrists. Your hips are coming in alignment with your knees. Imagine you squeezing thumbs together, squeezing inner thighs together. That's going to help to activate your pelvic floor. Tiny little micro movements. Just lift your tailbone. So we're just working on sacral chakra. We have a little lift of your tailbone up and then a little point down of your tailbone. Teeny tiny. We're going to use this throughout every practice that we do together. Just move between those two, anterior to posterior tilt. So tummy trying to stay still, upper body trying to stay still. And just practice moving between those 2 points. Just moving your pelvis. Rock your pelvis up towards the ceiling, rock it back down towards the ground. So then when we do come into cats and cows, the movement is originating from that area. So instead of engaging tummy first, we're going to use pelvis first, then bring the tummy in, then bring the chest and the heart in. So take a nice big deep breath in, go slowly, inhale, lift your tailbone, just move your pelvis, then bring your tummy down towards the ground, then lift up through your heart. So it's like a wave. 3 little moves connected, blended together as one. On your next exhale, start to point your tailbone down, just let your pelvis move, then engage the tummy, then engage the upper body and press down into palms. Little wave through your spine, and again, inhale. The pelvis lifts first, the tummy comes down second, the chest last, and then the chin forward. Little wave through your spine. Next exhale, point the tailbone down, engage the tummy, press down into the palms. One more breath together here. Inhale. Lower back to move first, pelvis to engage first, then through tummy, then up through chest. And then exhale. Tailbone down, big round through your spine, chin tucked into chest. And then come into your version of neutral, so a flat back, your pelvis in neutral. Just like we did right at the beginning with those circles, just start to make little circles with your tailbone and see if you can keep that movement isolated within your pelvis. So just start making a few circles going one way, see if you can just move through your hips, just move through your pelvis, then start to go the other way. You might find one way feels a little bit easier than the other. Again, notice, is there anywhere that you have a little bit of resistance, left or right? Any signs, any signals from your body that you can tune into from there? And of course, if there's nothing, that is okay too. From here, we're going to take a step with the right foot halfway between where your knee was and where your hand currently is. Take it onto the outside of your mat. Keep the left hand pressed down into the ground. Inhale and lift the right arm high into a twist. Really gentle twist. Now your lower back, lift it up towards the ceiling, just like we did in downward facing dog. So instead of rounding here, we've got a nice lift, lower back flat. Really gentle twist. As you inhale, see if you can go further into your twist. As you exhale, bring the right hand down, feed it through the gap, start to reach towards the foot end of your mat. Let your hips rock back like you would in child, and then the left hand is going to reach towards the foot end of your mat. The right foot can either be flexed or down towards the ground. Just see how your body feels again. Tune in into your own body. What feels best for you? Nobody knows better than you do. We're just going to hold that there for a second. Let the right hand slide back out first, the left hand to come with, back underneath your shoulders and rocking your weight back forwards. Inhale. As you exhale, the right foot is now going to cross the midline of your mat and go all the way to the left-hand side. Keep your little toe down, your big toe up towards the ceiling. We're going to take a deep stretch onto the outside of your right hip, coming at your body from every single angle today. Left hand stays down on the ground. If you feel able to, take the right arm up towards the ceiling. And if that feels okay, just let your chest turn in towards your leg. And hopefully you can feel a nice lengthen down the outside of your glute just here. Big deep breaths. So coming into inner thigh, outer thigh, glutes, hamstrings, quads, tummy, lower back. A little bit of everything going on today. Inhale, see if you can deepen into your twist. Exhale, let the right hand come back down, right knee back underneath the right hip, and ready to do that on the left hand side. Let the left foot step halfway between where your knee was and where your hand is. Your lower back flat to the ceiling, right hand down, left arm reaches up this time, squeezing into shoulder blades, just starting with a gentle twist. Strong press down into the ground. Inhale, see if you can deepen that rotation, go a little bit further as you exhale. The left hand to travel underneath the space of your left leg, reaching towards the foot end of your mat. Let your hips come down onto your right heel, and then the right hand to slide and reach towards the foot end of your mat as well. Chin tucked into chest. If we're all the way down onto the ground, just let the floor support your head. Tuning back in towards the breath. Big deep breath. Left hand to slide out first. Inhale. Right hand to follow. Hands coming back underneath the shoulders. Re-squaring your hips. Inhale. Let the left leg cross the midline of your mat this time and out towards the right hand side. Little toe down again, big toe up towards the ceiling so the sole of your foot is exposed. By all means, stay here. That might feel like it's more than enough. If it is, just look to the left-hand side and take your chest slightly with it. You'll get more of a release on the outside of your hip. If you want to go deeper, keep the right hand down this time. Take the left arm up towards the ceiling. Even though this is a small posture, it is quite a tricky one, so please don't worry if that feels quite difficult. Breathe some space, some length onto the outside of the left hip. Inhale, see if we can deepen that rotation. Exhale, left hand underneath the left shoulder, left knee back underneath the left hip. Tuck your toes underneath, come back into downward facing dog. 5 big deep breaths in downward facing dog. Again, thinking about your pelvis, that fall forward of the water. Strong press into hands. If our lower back needs a little bit of attention, slightly turn your toes, big toes in towards one another. Holding it there, visualizing that orange light in your pelvis, that healing warm orange light powering you up through your practice today. By all means, stay where you are in downward facing dog. Just concentrate on your big deep breaths. You can actually take a nice deep breath in downward facing dog. Chest is completely open. Or we can inhale, sweep the right heel up towards the ceiling and come into 3-legged dog. Now, technically, I am supposed to teach you to keep your hips square down towards the ground. However, I'm a non-dogmatic, no pun intended, yoga teacher, and I would rather personally open my hips out to the side. That just feels better for my body, and I'm going to trust and listen to that. So completely up to you what feels best. Either stay in 3-legged dog or drop your heel over towards your left glute and let all of your lower body weight come to the left-hand side into scorpion. So we have the knee high, the foot down, and then the weight of the lower body is coming over to the left, but the shoulders stay square down to the floor. So we're using the weight of your own leg to open your hip. Inhale, straighten your leg back to 3-legged dog. As you exhale, bring your knee into your chest. Drop down onto your knee, your ankle, your shin into pigeon pose. That left leg long out the back. Just take a little look at your toes at the back for me. Make sure the foot is flat and straight. Hips are in alignment, so it might mean you pull that left hip further up towards the head end of your mat. So we're not kind of just resting slumped into the right. Take a nice big deep breath in. If that feels like it's enough, by all means stay there. If we want to come further, bring the chest down towards the ground. Pull your pelvis underneath. Breathe some space. Take some tension away in that right hip. Use that deep diaphragmatic breath. Mind muscle connection. So as we're breathing, let's breathe into this right hip here. Softening into your upper body, any tension in the neck, in the shoulders, just allowing that to go. If you want to move your head from side to side, sometimes feels quite nice in pigeon. Up onto fingertips, take a big deep breath in, inhale. Place your hands underneath your shoulders, tuck your back toe underneath, exhale, press yourself down into the floor. By all means, stay there, or we can extend and straighten the right leg over towards the left edge of your mat. This might feel like enough, by all means, stay there. If you want to come further into a fallen triangle, drop your back heel down towards the ground, and then take the left arm up towards the ceiling. Strong press down into the right hand. Keep the hips lifted, reaching into fingertips, squeezing into shoulder blades. Inhale. And then exhale, left hand under left shoulder. Let the right leg come back in alignment with the left. Give yourself a push into downward facing dog. 5 big deep breaths in downward facing dog. Use the breath to keep the body calm. Breathing back to a baseline. Strong press down into hands. Imagine we're squeezing inner thighs together but without letting the feet move. Keep the pelvic floor activated. So think strength, think length of your pelvis. Particularly when we're working on your pelvic floor. So we want to create both length and strength. Long and strong muscles. If we feel okay and it's part of our practice today, inhale, sweep your left heel up towards the ceiling into 3-legged dog. Pressing down firmly into your palms, shoulders stay square. If we want to go further, let the left heel come over towards the right glute, over towards the right edge of your mat. Let the weight of your lower body come across to the right, but keep the left shoulder square down to the ground. Breathe down into that left hip, some space. Unlocking emotions, unlocking anything repressed, any resistance as we go. Inhale, straighten the left leg. As you exhale, bring the knee in towards the chest. Let the knee, shin, ankle come down onto the ground. Long right leg at the back. Just checking on the toe, making sure the foot is straight. This front foot, when you come into pigeon pose, if you flex your toes up towards the head end of your mat, so your front leg kind of represents like a tick shape. It'll look like a little tick. That way you're going to help to protect your knee too. So this back hip, pull it forwards. Inhale, pull your pelvis underneath. Now by all means, stay exactly where you are, or let yourself soften down onto the ground, whatever feels best for you in pigeon today. Slow, deep diaphragmatic breath. Slow the breath right down. Breathe some space into left hip today. Coming up onto hands, inhale, hands underneath your shoulders, tuck the back toe underneath, exhale, give yourself a push. By all means, stay there, pull your belly button up to spine. If we want to go further, extend that left foot as far across to the right hand side as we possibly can. That itself might feel like enough too. If we do want to come further, drop the back heel, right heel down towards the ground. Press down into the left hand and let the right arm reach towards the ceiling. Squeeze into shoulder blades. So strength and length all at the same time. Inhale, see if we can go a little bit further. Exhale, let the right hand come down. Left foot to come back in alignment with the right. Give yourself a press into downward facing dog. 5 big deep breaths in downward facing dog. Keeping that sense of curiosity within your practice. So anything that comes up for you as we move through the salutations we're about to do together, just have a sense of curiosity. When you've finished your 5th breath, you take little tiny steps, almost like you're walking on a little tightrope, one foot in front of the other, until you come underneath your hips and come into your first forward fold. So when we did our practice last week, what I taught you was to inhale and lift your chest. When you come into your half lift, you lift your chest. As you exhale and come back down, keep space in your pelvis, keep space in your heart. So instead of suffocating, rounding through your spine and shutting everything off, we'll inhale to lift the chest forward and then exhale to come down into forward fold. So all that energy, all that prana has got space to move, space to travel up through the body. If you're quite tender in your hamstrings, by all means take a little bend into your knees. We can still keep space in the pelvis, let everything flow forwards, and then completely release and soften the upper body. Decompressing through your spine, muscles of your face soft, and then let that jaw release. Let that mirroring within your jaw be released as well. Take a breath into a half lift, inhale. Pushing your tailbone back, the crown of your head forward. Exhale, come back into forward fold. Now place your hands onto your hips. Press down into the soles of your feet. Lead with the crown of your head as you inhale. Exhale when you get there. And just give your legs a little wiggle and a shake. So we're going to move into salutations from here. It's quite fast paced, but I promise we will all be okay. So coming onto the head end of your mat, I'll face this way for you so you can. So we want your feet underneath your hips. Even when you come into mountain pose, let's make this mountain pose really strong. We want a nice straight line from your ankle to your knee, from your knee to your hip, so your legs are in a nice straight line. Find your neutral in your pelvis. So if you need to practice your little tilts, anterior, posterior, by all means do. Sometimes helps if you put one hand across the front, one hand across the back, and you physically move your pelvis forwards and backwards. So you can find where your version of neutral is. Then lift up through your chest. So we've got your chest stacked on top of your pelvis in a straight line, and then your head on top of your heart in a straight line. Hands soft and down by your sides. Taking a big deep breath in. And then just placing your hands back across your pelvis. Stay exactly where you are in mountain pose for me. Just breathe in here. Revisiting that orange light through the pelvis. Invoking that sense of curiosity. Anything that comes up, we're just fully aware that it's there, honoring however we feel. You don't have to engage with anything any further. We're just fully aware of what's there for us today. Take a big deep breath in, arms up and overhead, open into your chest. As you exhale, take a big dive down, come into forward fold, tailbone lifting high. Into half lift, inhale. As you exhale, take a step or even a little jump and come into downward facing dog. Strong press down into hands, chin tucked in towards the chest and breathing into the back of your rib cage. Inhale and lift your left leg high into three-legged dog. As you exhale, take the left foot onto the outside of the left hand. Go as high and as wide as you possibly can into lizard pose. By all means, dropping down into the back knee if we need to. So we've got a straight line from the wrist to the shoulder. If you squeeze into your quad here, that's going to help you to keep that back leg straight. See if you can shift your weight a little bit further forward so we're not relying on that back leg too heavily. And then tuck your pelvis underneath, tuck your chin down in towards your chest. So we're almost creating like a little round through your spine like you would in your cat pose. See if you can breathe right the way down into this right hip. Big deep breaths. We're going to take a high twist from here. Bring your spine back into neutral. Keep the right hand down, the left arm reaching up towards the ceiling. Keep the pull of your weight forwards. Squeeze into shoulder blades to open the chest. Press down into the hand on the ground. Keep the pelvis pulled underneath. Inhale, see if we can deepen that rotation, go a little bit further. Exhale, let the left hand come down towards the ground. Pull the left foot in between. So now we're framing the foot with the hands. Staying into a runner's lunge and just hold that there. Keep that pull underneath of the pelvis. So all we've done is move where the foot is. Start to take your hands to the right edge of your mat. Let the back heel drop down. So we can either stay here, just lift up through your pelvis at the back. So we've got a nice lengthen down the inside of your back leg. If you want to come further, drop your hips all the way to the floor and lift your right toes up towards the ceiling into Skandasana. This is a posture, even though it looks easy, is dependent on a lot of different things. Mobility in your ankle for one, mobility in your hip for two. So if that is just not in your practice, just stay higher in that little lunge, keep the weight forward into your hands and just breathe. Active practice today. Inhale, fingertips down if we're down on the floor. Everybody walk your hands back towards the head end of your mat. Reframe your left foot and drop your hips down. Big deep breath. Bring your hands a little bit further back, so more in line with your heel. As you inhale, start to press your weight forwards into the left foot and both hands. Take a strong step in and connect your knees together into a fallen flamingo. So we've got the left foot pressing down into the ground, right toes up towards the ceiling. Squeeze your inner thighs together, squeeze your knees together. Keep the chin down in towards the chest. If you want to go further, walk your fingertips back. Let them point towards the foot end of your mat and then give yourself a push to shift your weight forwards. Deep, deep lengthen. Use your breath, soften the body. Noticing anything that comes up for you, any emotions, any feelings. Where's the narrative at? How are we communicating to ourselves? Bend into your left knee, let the right knee come behind, sit yourself down onto the ground into cow's head pose. So we have the left leg on top, the right leg is underneath, and we're going to turn your toes out to the sides into cow's head pose. So when you come into cow's head pose, our knees, we're looking to align our knees, but for some of us, me included, it's just not possible, and that is okay. The thing I want you to concentrate on is having your tailbone down on the ground, both bum cheeks on the floor. If that means you unhook your legs slightly, that is okay. So just making sure both sit bones are down on the ground, fingertips out to the side, inhale. As you inhale, exhale, see if you can slightly lean forward. Keep that space in your pelvis, your tummy, in your heart, so everything lifted up and then forwards, rather than just rounding through the spine. If you don't feel like that's in your practice, just stay where you are, that's okay. This is enough of a hip opener. Go to where feels best. And if that lean forward has meant that your bum's lifted up and off the ground at the back, just bring it down and keep your chest a little bit higher. A little bit of space into the left hip. Amazing. Lift into your chest. Inhale. Unhook the left leg. Keep letting it travel towards the foot end of your mat. Give yourself a little push. Right hand stays down. Left arm up towards the ceiling. Into a half crescent lunge. So kind of like a crescent moon even. Kind of like a crescent moon, but we're going to do this off the ground. So keeping your hips turned out towards the side of your mat. Squeezing into your shoulder blades. If your neck and your head allow it, look up towards your thumb. Tricky little balance posture. Inhale. As you exhale, place the left hand down, place the left foot down. Come back into downward facing dog. Big deep breaths. So there's no perfect, no good, no bad, there just is. However your body is moving today is absolutely fine. Take a nice big deep breath in, come into plank pose. Shifting your weight forwards, we're going through a vinyasa. Either drop down onto your knees or come straight through chaturanga. Big deep breath in as you lift your chest. Inhale, cobra or up dog, whichever feels best for you. Exhale, give yourself a big press to downward facing dog. Anything that this movement is unlocking, anything that's being brought to the surface, just let it flow. That river to go right back to the ocean. Inhale, look towards the base of your thumbs. Exhale, step walk, or take a little jump. Come back into forward fold. Let yourself soften and let yourself flop. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, lower your chest back down. Arms are going to come all the way to standing. Inhale, up and overhead. Exhale, bring all that energy back in towards your heart center. Just let yourself breathe. If you have that orange essential oil, keep your fingertips across your face. Using the breath and let your breathing come back to base. Realigning your spine, pelvis back into your version of neutral. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Push your hips slightly forwards. Exhale, big dive down into forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Take a step or a jump, come into downward facing dog. I'm going to repeat that salutation on the opposite side. Sweep the right heel up towards the ceiling. Ooh, clicky hip. I'm sure that released something. Into three-legged dog. Inhale. As you exhale, big, strong step as high and as wide as you possibly can. Up towards the head end of your mat into lizard pose. So we're doing this slightly differently today. Normally we'd roll onto your little toe. We're keeping the foot flat. Inhale. As you exhale, round through your spine, tuck your chin into your chest. You're pulling the pelvis underneath, create some length down that back hip. Don't forget to move any movements you want to add. The feminine is always strongest when it's got freedom and fluidity. Sometimes yoga can be a little bit rigid. So feel free to have some movement, that is okay. Keep the left hand down, the right arm high. Inhale into a twist. Keeping the pelvis, the hips drop down low and squeezing the quad of the back leg. The feminine doesn't get that honored within yoga because it's an ancient practice that was created for men. Okay? We're just catching up a couple of thousands of years later. Inhale, see if we can go further. Exhale, let the right hand drop down onto your mat and then bring the foot in between the hands into a little runner's lunge. The pelvis still tucked underneath. Big deep breaths. Walk your hands back in alignment with your heel. We're going to fallen flamingo from here. Take a big deep breath right into the depths of your belly. As you exhale, press into your right foot. Take a big strong step and bring your left knee in. The knees connected, inner thighs connected, left toes pointing up towards the ceiling, chin tucked down into chest. That right foot, press it down into the floor. We want to go deeper, walking fingertips towards the foot end of the mat. Gentle press to shift your weight forwards. See if we can slow the breath down slightly. Walking hands forwards towards the head end if we've moved them a little further back. Inhale. Bend into the right knee. Bring the left knee behind the right foot. Sit yourself down into cow's head pose. Knees stacked, toes out to the sides. Both sit bones down onto the ground. Any imbalances in the hips? Do we have one that's a little bit more resistant than the other? Keeping the tailbone pointing down. If we want to go further, inhale, let the chest come slightly forward, keeping that alignment in the spine. Sometimes think cow's head pose is just a nice release. You just give yourself that sensation of completely letting go. Whatever you feel like isn't serving you, let it go tonight. Let it all out your system. That was a note to self. That wasn't even for your benefit. That was just for myself, just then. Keep your hands down onto the ground. Shift your weight forwards. That right leg is going to extend out towards the foot end of your mat. I'm in the flowers. Let me move. Keep the left hand down, the right arm high. Into half moon, strong press. Can we engage that top glute a little bit more? Can we squeeze into shoulder blades a little bit more? Press into the floor. Claim that space on your mat. I know that's a tricky little posture. Inhale. Exhale, right hand, right foot down. Big, strong press back into downward facing dog. Just breathe, catch your breath. Connected lots of little postures there together. And again, just to remind you, any movements you want to add into downward facing dog, feel free. Inhale, take a big breath in, come into a plank. Exhale, come down through chaturanga or knees down. Big deep breath in as you come into cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale and bring yourself back into downward facing dog. Even if we're mentally repeating tonight, I've got the power. I have got. Big deep breath in, eye gaze to base of thumbs. Exhale, take a step walk or a little jump and come into forward fold. Lift the chest, pull that bowl of water further forward. Inhale, exhale, back into forward fold. Arms up and overhead, inhale. Hands into heart center, exhale. Let the breathing come back down to baseline. Using that sweet orange oil if we need to. Big deep breaths in, shoulders to soften. If we're creating any tension as we go, let's release it in between. Arms overhead, inhale. Big deep bend forward fold, exhale. Half lift, inhale. As you exhale, step the right foot back, let the right knee come down and into a crescent lunge. So crescent lunge, one of my favorite postures. Perfect way to explain how we've got length and strength in the body at the same time. So keep your pelvis pulled underneath. Try not to overextend so we're turning it into a really deep back bend. Pull the pelvis underneath. Now, if you pull that hip a little bit further forward towards the head end of your mat, press down into your front foot, almost as if you're pressing down and then dragging the heel in towards the body. You're going to keep strength in the front leg and length in the back leg. Bring your palms together, inhale, take your eye gaze to base of thumbs. So here is where it's really important to keep that pull underneath of your pelvis. If we don't, and we just turn it into a back bend, we're creating tension around the back of here and we're not letting this back hip take the full benefit of being lengthened. Squeeze your palms together, that way you're activating your pelvic floor. That press down into the front foot. If we want to go further, tuck the back toe underneath, come into a high lunge. Still making sure we pull the pelvis under, pulling that front heel back. You'll notice if you imagine you're drawing your heel back, it helps you to square your hips towards the front anyway. Whether we're on the floor or we've elevated the knee, inhale, exhale, turn your pelvis towards the right and come into warrior two. So when you come into warrior two from the side, this side, sometimes people come into warrior two and create a really deep back bend. Pull your pelvis right underneath. That way, again, we're taking the tension out of the lower back. We're giving the hips more opportunity to open. The deeper you come into this front knee, the more you're going to lengthen down this back hip. Press into the sole of the front foot, press into the outside edge of the back foot. Squeeze into shoulder blades and look to your middle finger. Super strong warriors. Warriors within the sacral chakra, inhale. As you exhale, windmill your hands back down, frame your front foot, and drop back down onto your knee for me. Start to walk your hands to the right edge of your mat. Then kick your foot up and take it to the left edge of your mat. We're coming into half goddess, hands into chest. Inhale, exhale, take a big deep bend into the front, into the left. Pelvis still pulled underneath. If you want to come further, let the left hand come in front of the left foot. Take the right arm to the ceiling. You've got a little connection between your tricep and your knee. Just gently push the knee out. Push the knee away from the torso. Inhale. As you exhale, let the right hand come down. Reframe the front foot. Let the back toes reach to foot end of the mat. And then shift your hips back into Ardha Hanumanasana or half split. Think about that pull back this time. Lower back flat to the ceiling. So when you come into your postures, your attention often isn't where you think it's meant to be. So in this posture, think about pulling this back hip forwards. If you pull it forwards, it's going to shift the sensation you have in the opposite leg. So instead of concentrating on this extended front leg, think about that pull hip, that pull of your hip coming forward. Toe in towards the shin, breathe here. Just like we did in forward fold, keep space in your pelvis. Rather than rounding through the spine, lift through your heart. That means you have to bend your knee slightly, that's okay. Shift your weight forwards, come back into crescent lunge. This time the right hand stays down, the left arm reaching tall. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. If you want to deepen this posture, kick the back foot in. Let the top hand take hold and gently pull the heel in towards the body. That is a difficult posture, again, even though it looks quite small. So if that feels really difficult and it's just not in there for you, that is okay. Appease your body, not your ego. When we listen to your body, you're more in your feminine. When you're appeasing the ego, you're more in your masculine. Release the foot if we've got hold. Inhale. As you exhale, give yourself a push. Come back into downward facing dog. Big, deep breath. Inhale, shift the weight forwards into plank. Exhale, drop the knees or come straight through chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, back into downward facing dog. We need to repeat the affirmation. I am the power. Not even I have the power. Let's change it. I am the power. Inhale. Exhale, look to base of thumbs. Take a little step, a walk or a jump and come back into forward fold. Keep that bowl of water pouring forwards. Inhale into half lift. Exhale, gently lower. Arms all the way to standing. Inhale. Bring all that energy back into your chest. Claim it. It's all yours. Breathe. Big, deep breaths. Breathing back to baseline. Little revisit of your pelvis. Pull it underneath if we need to. However we find ourselves to get to neutral. Big, deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Dive forwards. Forward fold. Ready to repeat our salutation on the opposite side. Inhale into half lift. Exhale, left foot goes back. Drop the left knee down onto the ground into crescent lunge. Pelvis pulled underneath. So feel free to have a little play with your foot at the back, whether you want to keep it flat or tucked under, completely up to you. So pelvis pulled underneath. This time pressing the right foot down into the floor, and then imagine we're pulling this heel back in towards the body. Activate your hamstring, activate your glute, everything that's going to help to keep your hips and your pelvis stable. Inhale, arms up and overhead, eye gaze to base of thumbs, squeezing palms together, and then reaching fingertips tall. As soon as you lengthen through your upper body and keep your shoulders down, you're probably going to feel like you've created some extra length in that hip. Big deep breath. If we do want to come further, toe tucked underneath at the back, squeeze into the quad to straighten the leg. Just checking on the front knee, making sure it's running in a straight line to the head end of your mat. We've not let it roll out to the little toe or all the way across the midline of your mat, straight forwards. Whether we're in crescent lunge on the ground or up in high lunge, inhale, and we'll all join in with each other and come into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Pull the pelvis underneath. Again, check on that front knee. Make sure we've not rolled to little toe or all the way into midline of the mat. Turn the knee out. So your hips should be square to the side of your mat, to the left side of your mat. If you're struggling to keep your hips in one direction, just heel toe your front foot a little bit further across. That way it's easier to turn the hips, but just making sure we don't then let the knee collapse inwards. Big deep breaths, inhale. See if we can deepen into the front knee as we exhale. Torso stays in the center. Inhale again. Exhale, windmill your hands down towards the ground, pivot on your back foot, and drop your knee. Walk your hands to the left edge of your mat. Let the back heel come in, and then drop it over to the right edge of the mat. Half goddess. Inhale, hands to chest. Big deep bend into front knee as we exhale. Tailbone pointing down, crown of the head lifting tall. If we want to go further, the bottom hand to reach onto the inside of the foot, the top hand to reach to ceiling. Gentle bit of pressure between the tricep and the inside of your knee. See if we can deepen that rotation. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades, press into the floor. Exhale, let the left hand come down, frame the front foot. Bring the back toes towards the foot end of your mat, and then shift the hips back into half split. Pulling the toe in towards the shin, pushing that front heel away towards the head end, and pulling this hip back. Pull the left hip forwards. Oh, you're letting you calm. Big deep breaths, keeping space through all your energy centers. Pelvis has space, tummy has space, chest, even neck and throat have space. Shift your weight forwards, come into a low lunge. Keep the left hand down, the right arm reaching to the ceiling. Low twist. If we want to deepen the posture and go further, kick the back heel in, let the top hand connect to the foot, and then gently pull the heel in towards the body. So if we're in this posture here, be really conscious to try not to rest all the way up onto your kneecap. Come down onto the top of your quad. Roll yourself down onto the top of the quad. Try not to put too much pressure in a straight line on the kneecap. Just breathe here, lifting up through the chest. Pressing down into the left hand. Release the back foot. Inhale, turn to the head end of your mat. Tuck the back toe underneath. Exhale into downward facing dog. 5 big deep breaths in downward facing dog. So even though downward facing dog is technically a resting posture, we don't want to sort of slump into it. Keep it active. Keep that press into the palms. Stay connected to your practice. You owe it to yourself to have that time where you're fully mindful, fully connected to your body. You deserve to have that. Inhale, come into a plank. Shifting the weight forwards. Exhale, gently lower down onto the ground. Now stay where you are for me. Take your hands into 2 little fists and then tuck them underneath your pelvis. We're going into Shalabhasana or locust pose from here. Elbows come down to the ground. Keep your nose pointing down towards the floor. Now squeeze into your glutes, lift your toes up towards the ceiling, little space between the feet. And then pressing the pubic bone down into the ground. We're going to hold this here for 5 big deep breaths. All that energy into the sacral chakra. Fill your Svadhisthana chakra with that warm orange light, that little massage. If you feel like you've got a little pulse, that's okay, completely normal. Just hold it there. Squeezing into glutes, keeping the legs and the toes extended. On your 5th breath, see if you can go slightly higher, and then exhale, gently lower the feet down. Give yourself a little push, come into an extended child's pose. Big toes together, knees out to sides. Little counter pose for your lower back. Breathing back to baseline. Any movements we want to add into child, feel free. Tucking the toes back underneath, coming into downward facing dog when we feel ready. Inhale, eye gaze to base of thumbs. Exhale, step, walk or jump. Feet underneath the hips into forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale and lower. Arms all the way up and overhead. Inhale. Hands into heart center. Exhale. Hold that there for a second. Feel free to add some sound into your exhalation. Use that sound, that vibration, just like we did at the beginning of your practice. Take it through your body. Get everything moving, unblocked, release. And then just give yourself a little wiggle. Move all that energy around. So you can stay onto the head end of your mat. I'm just going to turn so you can see me a little bit more easily. Keep your hands into heart center and then shift your weight into the left foot. So taking the weight over to the left. As you inhale, bring your right knee up in towards your chest. Kind of like a little right angle. Go higher if you possibly can. Flex into the right foot. Pull the pelvis underneath. On your next inhalation, see if you can press through the heel and extend your leg out in front. If you need to hold on to something, fingertips on the wall, absolutely fine. We're going to hold this here for 3 big deep breaths. We're using your hip flexors, using your psoas to keep that leg lifted and extended. Really important part of pelvic health. So I know that feels really tough. I promise your body, especially as a woman, is going to thank you for keeping that stability and strength. On your 3rd breath, see if you can go higher. And then exhale, drop the foot down and give yourself a little wiggle. I know that's a little one, but a tricky one. And back into center. Ground yourself back in. Toes wiggle down onto the floor. Shift your weight into your right foot. Press through the sole of the foot. Inhale and lift your left knee. Keep your eye gaze, your drishti, focus point. Find something to fixate your eyes on. Stay super steady with your breath. On your next inhalation, see if you can press through the heel. Keep the foot flexed, spine straight. Squeezing into quad. Smile through it, that definitely makes sense. 3 big deep breaths. On that 3rd breath, see if we can go slightly higher with the leg. And then drop it down, exhale. And just give yourself a little wiggle from side to side. Well done. We're going to move into Malasana or a yogic squat from here. So take your feet just outside of hip distance. If you're facing lengthways on your mat, just go toes towards the outside edges for me. Take your arms up and overhead. Inhale. As you exhale, bring hands into heart center, bend into the knees, and come down into yogic squat. So yogic squat is very similar to Skandasana that we did right at the beginning. And it can often depend on the mobility of your ankles, mobility of your hips. So if your heels are not down on the floor and you're a little bit more up here and it's really uncomfortable, you can get a block or a book. A book works just the same. You need 2 of the same size books and just prop them underneath both heels so that then you've got a little bit of support there. So normally within a yogic squat, we would sit still and just kind of hold this. Feel free to move yourself about a little bit. Just wave your knees from side to side. Shift yourself from left to right. Anything repressed, stored, anything that we need to unleash, move it around your body. Get it out of your hips. And what I'd like you to take note of as well when you come into Malasana, even though we're opening the hips, we're lengthening the psoas, it's quite often a posture that people almost fight against. You fight against the posture, resisting the posture as much as you possibly can. See if you can completely soften into it. We've got a tiny bit of pressure on the insides of your thighs, gently pressing your knees out towards the sides as well. And then we're looking for a straight line, your kneecap to match the lines of your toes. So if you had a piece of string on your big toes, your knees would be going with a piece of string in the exact same direction. If you do want to deepen your yogic squat, take your fingertips out towards the side. Now they will join the alignment of those pieces of string as well. Everything we've been doing together this evening created length and strength in the pelvic floor as well, crucial for optimizing female health. Regardless of who we are, what our experiences are, what age we are. Important to create that safety and stability within your own body. Good. Bring yourself down onto the ground. Cross your feet over. Give yourself a little push. Come back into downward facing dog. Big strong press. Little steps, walk in towards forward fold. Take that flop. Just noticing we had quite a long holding yogic squat there. Does your body feel a little bit more loose? Do we feel like we've let something go? Keeping that sense of curiosity, tune into any signs, any signals that we get from the body. Press down into the soles of the feet. Place your hands onto your hips. Lead with the crown of your head. Inhale. Come all the way up to standing. And just give yourself a little wiggle and a shake. Take a step back, so you're going to face me, whether that's your right foot or your left foot, as long as you're facing the front. We want a nice wide stance. We're going to go into goddess pose from here. So your toes are pointing towards the corners of your mat. Think about those lines of string again, shooting out from your toes and your knees. They're going to go in the same direction. Arms up and overhead, inhale. Bring your hands in towards your heart center as you exhale. Take a big deep bend into knees, into goddess pose. So the knees are in alignment, in agreement with your toes. When we went into goddess pose, very similar, when you come down into warrior two, when you come into goddess, if you've created that little bend in the lower back, pull your pelvis underneath and concentrate on turning the knees out as far as they'll possibly go. Press through the soles, press down into the floor. Take your hands onto the insides of your legs, fingertips pointed in, inhale. As you exhale, drop down into your right shoulder and look over the left, creating a little twist. Get a few clicks in your spine, please don't worry. Keep that press through the feet. Inhale, come back through the center. As you exhale, press down into the left shoulder, look towards the right. Gentle bit of pressure to press the knees out towards the back edges of the mat. Come back into the center, realign your spine, place your hands back in front of your chest, pelvis pulled under, down through the soles of your feet, pressing to the floor. Inhale, start to straighten into your legs. Exhale, just give your hips a little wiggle from side to side. We're going to turn your feet in this time. So feet in the opposite direction, almost a little bit pigeon-toed. Keep your stance quite wide and place your hands onto your hips. As you inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades, squeeze your elbows together, look up. Exhale, start to pour that jug, that bowl full of water down towards the ground. Place your hands down onto your mat and then slide the backs of your hands in line with your heels. If you need to use a block, that's absolutely fine. We can use the block to give us a little bit of support and assistance. Keep the tailbone lifted high. Crown of the head down towards the ground. Muscles of the face soft. Into wide forward fold. Pressing into the outside edges of your feet so your little toes are what's creating your stability. If we want to go further, inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, take hold of the big toe, thumbs press down onto the tip and elbows out to sharp edges. If we want to go further still, we can inhale and lift the chest. As we exhale, bring the hands around the lower back, bind them together and let them fall over the top of the head. Again, listen to your body, not your ego. What feels best for your body today? Let yourself be fully aligned with the feminine, not the masculine. The movement in your upper body, in the neck, in the head, feel free. Placing the heels and the hands back in alignment with each other. Inhale, come into a half lift. Exhale, place your hands onto your hip. As you inhale, press down into the soles of your feet. Lead with the crown of your head. And then heel toe your feet in towards the center. Well done. Come down onto your mat for me. We're going to end the physical part of our practice with a really important posture. It's one that most people dislike the most, but it's really important for stabilizing your pelvic health. So when we talk about your psoas, the health of your psoas muscle is really important. Depending on whether you've got that anterior or that posterior tilt, often you can have a psoas that's too long, it can often be too short, and then that implicates the health of your pelvic floor. So know that we're doing this purpose. Postures with purpose. Oh, we're going to keep the knees bent, press your root down into the ground, keep your chest tall, palms facing up towards the ceiling, slight lean back, inhale, pull the belly button in towards the spine, and then exhale, draw the knees into the chest into boat pose. So we're shortening the space between the thighs and the body, but keeping that lift in your upper body. I know it's tough. Big, deep breaths. Postures with purpose. If you want to go further, see if you can extend the toes up towards the ceiling. Just breathe here. I promise it's worth it. We're going to hold this here for 5, 4. See if you can lift into chest. 3, 2, and 1. Give yourself a hug, rock from side to side. Well done. So extending the feet out in front. Inhale, lift up into your chest as you exhale. Roll down through your spine, one vertebra at a time. Little massage at the lower back if we wish. And then just let yourself relax down onto the floor. So we have one more posture to do together, and then we're going to move into Shavasana. So just allowing the body to breathe, we're going to come into a little counter pose just to bring some length and space right back in towards your hips. Bring your heels in towards your body. Keep a bend in the knees. Into bridge pose. So as we come up through bridge, keep your alignment in the hip to the knee. When we get to the top, sometimes people let the knees flop out to the sides or they bring them towards the midline of the mat. Think about that micro movement of your pelvis. As you inhale, start to peel the tailbone off. Pour that bowl full of water as far back as you possibly can. Squeeze into your glutes. So we're lifting the hips up through the lower, through the middle, and all the way up onto the top of your back. Tuck your chin down into your chest. Heels pressing down through the floor. If you want to come a little bit further today, we can place your hands onto your lower back just to elevate the hips a little bit higher. Bridge pose, amazing posture for pelvic health. Inhale, see if you can go slightly higher. And then as you exhale in reverse this time, let the top of the back come down, the middle of the back next, then into lower back, all the way down into tailbone last. Bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a big hug. Little opportunity to self-soothe. Take the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. Hands can either go outside of the feet or on the inside of the feet. Let the knees drop down into the ribs, tuck them into the sides of the body into happy baby. Then press your lower back down into the ground. Either stay exactly where you are or find some freedom in happy baby. Just rock from soles of the feet together. Bring them down onto the ground, let the knees come out to the sides into reclined butterfly. Now, sometimes reclined butterfly can actually be quite an uncomfortable posture depending on the articulation of your hip joint. If you don't feel soothed, if you don't feel relaxed in reclined butterfly, go in the total opposite direction. Take your feet wide to the outside edges of your mat and then let your knees collapse in. So you're taking your hip in a completely different direction. So again, it's about you tuning into your own body, listening to your own body and what your body responds to and needs. Letting the breathing come back down to a baseline. And then whether we have the knees connected or the knees out far into reclined butterfly, we'll come into Shavasana from here. You need to get anything to keep you cozy, keep you warm. By all means, get anything that's going to bring you an extra little bit of comfort. So if you feel like you could make yourself even just 2% more comfortable, take the opportunity. And then when you're ready, coming back into Shavasana. Please don't ever skip Shavasana. Those who skip Shavasana are those who need Shavasana the most. So when you come down onto the ground, let your feet flop out to the sides. And let your hands today rest across your pelvis. We're going to make an inverted triangle. Your thumbs, tips of your thumbs connected, tips of your index fingers connected. So when you're down on the ground, you've created a little inverted triangle, little inverted pyramid, just resting across your pelvis. I'm going to keep you in Shavasana. We have an active Shavasana today, one of my favourites. Gently closing your eyes when you feel ready, softening into the body. We've had a particularly active practice tonight. Just give yourself a couple of seconds, scan your entire body. Is there anywhere that we've built up any tension this evening? Take the opportunity to try and soften into that now. Use your breath, that deep diaphragmatic breath, and just see if you can start to let it go. And as you inhale, draw your breath all the way down into your pelvis. Breathe some space into your pelvis. As you exhale, breathe warmth, self-connection, healing energy to come through your hands and into your pelvis, nurturing your own body on that exhale. Allowing yourself to be fully immersed into that self-connection. Drawing the breath all the way down into the pelvis on the inhale. Just warming, nurturing the body on the exhale. Holding your awareness within your pelvis. And once again, visualizing that warm orange light come all the way through into the sacral chakra. I'm going to invite you to hold your awareness there. If you do lose focus whilst we're in Shavasana today, that is absolutely fine. Just bring your awareness back to the warmth of that orange light in your pelvis, wherever you find yourself at the time. Mentally repeating the words within your mind's eye, sending them all the way down into the pelvis. I love you. I value you. I am grateful for you. I awaken you. I forgive you. I acknowledge you. I accept you. Breathing in, taking the breath all the way down into the pelvis. And as we breathe out, letting the hands warm, nurture and nourish the body. Keeping our awareness on that orange light. Mentally repeating the words within your mind's eye, allowing yourself to be fully immersed with that connection. I will nurture you. I will support you. I will protect you. I will honor you. I will celebrate you. I will create with you. I will empower you. As we breathe in, taking the breath all the way down into the pelvis. And as we breathe out, allowing the hands to warm, nurture, support the body. Gifting ourselves the opportunity to let go of anything that's no longer serving us. And mentally repeating within your mind's eye, holding your awareness in your pelvis. We are connected. We are one. We are enough. We are beautifully unique. We are always worthy. We are divine. We are sacred. Breathing in, taking the breath all the way down into the pelvis. And as we exhale, just allowing the hands to warm, nurture, and nourish the body. Keeping our awareness on that warm orange light. And you're just starting to let that orange light flood into all parts, all four corners of the body, all the way down into the legs, into the feet. That orange light to come all the way up into the torso, into the chest, into the back. That light to come all the way down through your arms and your hands and your fingers. All the way up into your head, all the details of your face. That healing orange light coming from your source, your seat of ultimate feminine and creative power. And feel free to take a big deep stretch if you want to move. Let that energy flow through your body. Feel free to move. Just be gentle with the movements that you invite into your body after laying on the ground. When you feel ready, take a roll onto your right hand side. Just make a little pillow with your hands underneath your cheek. And then when you feel ready, coming back up onto your mat and back into a meditation posture. And just allowing your body to move slowly. And when you're there, just resting your hands back in front of your face. If we have that sweet orange oil, just let the body breathe it all in, take it all in. And if not, that's okay. Just imagine breathing that warm orange light back into your body. Taking a big deep breath in through your nose, go all the way down into diaphragm, all the way down into pelvis. Let yourself sigh it out and then breathe. All of the light in me acknowledges all of the light in you. Namaste.